Hi everyone. So today I'll show you Whatfix overlay on top of Oracle HCM Cloud, and I'll show you the series of widgets the Whatfix has in order to ignite the interactive walkthroughs. The first widget here that you see is the guided pop-up. We use that in order to onboard new users when they log into the application for the first time. You can customize the text of the pop-up. You can embed any media here. And the idea is that once you click on the Get a Tour button, in this case, a flow would be launched for the users. In this case, it would be just a tour of this page here. So a flow is a series of balloon tips, and each balloon tip has an action associated with that in order to advance onto the next step. In this case, it is purely navigational. And once the user ends a specific walkthrough, this end message appears for him. That can again be customized, and we have this mini survey capability where the user can provide additional feedback if the flow was helpful or not. The next widget I'll show you is the task list, which is the one here on the bottom left. And the task list is like a mini learning management system that you can use on top of your application. You can push out specific tasks, meaning flows or any other source of content to specific users to follow and complete. So for instance, my first task was to see this video here. And the completion is then tracked, and I can say I've completed this one, and the next task was opened for me. And you can launch the walkthrough from here as well. Now again, following along with the actual task that I need to do, which is to update my personal details. And as you can see, the balloon tips can have different completion rules. So it can be purely navigational, as you've seen so far. It can be upon the next button click. It can also be upon typing text, for example. So I'll type different text here, it will advance. Again, the next button, it can be selecting from a drop-down, etc. Now I'll pause here in this flow for a second to show the next set of widgets, which is the smart tips. So smart tips are usually used around form fields like this in order to help the user and recommend what kind of data they should enter. So for instance, once I come and hover over a field I want to put data in, a tooltip can show up for me, helping me and recommending me what kind of data I should enter. The same can be in the form of an eye icon. So once I hover over the eye icon, a tooltip again shows up for me, again, completely customizable, and you can embed additional media in these tooltips as well. And another capability is to validate data. So for instance, if I have a field that I want to enforce specific format, like here, for example, I enter some kind of input, and then if it's wrong, I get an error. In this case, I need to enter maximum of 3 characters. So once I'll change that and continue, that's when the error will go for me. I'll go ahead and continue with the flow. And once I submit it again, I will see the end message. The next widget I'll show you here is the self-help. The self-help is like a 24/7 help center that you can have in the application. So the user have all the content available for them anywhere they are at any point of time. So they can, if they seek for specific help, they can always turn to the self-help and search for that. The idea is that the content that will appear for them by default will be contextual based on where they are in the application and who they are by role. But they can always utilize the search bar of the self-help. So if I'm here but I'm searching help with something else, let's say something regarding assignments, for example, I can always type in a keyword and see what kind of help I have around that. And again, once it appears, I can launch the content from the self-help and continue my flow. Now I'll go back to the home page. The flow would continue for me. I can go to my teams and complete this add assignment task. I will close it out for now. I want to show you again, so the self-help, now that I'm in the home page, I have different content here. So I've decided I want these things to show in the home page rather than in the other pages. Additionally, as you see, the self-help contains not only flows, but multi-source of data. So I have links outside the application, videos as well, and text snippets. So multiple source of data can be included here. And also the self-help itself can be placed differently. So the user can easily, drag and drop it whenever he wants to show up in a different place. Now I'll show you two additional widgets that are around change management. So the first one would be the beacon. And it can use to grab the user's attention. So this is the red dot here, and the style can be changed as well. Once the user sees this and comes and hover over, a tooltip appears, again, with some instructions, some alerts you would want to push out to them. And it can also use as another ignition point for a flow. So if I'll click on the beacon, a flow would be launched for me, as you see here. Close that out and go back to the home page. The second widget around change management is the smart pop-up. Just navigate to the page, and the idea is that, again, if you have a specific page that you would want to push some announcement to the user, if you've added new things in the application, or you have an important announcement to make, or anything of that sort, you can configure this kind of smart pop-up. Again, completely customizable with the text as well as the media you can embed in it, and configure where you want that pop-up to show, to what users, at what times of the day, etc., and how many times, of course. The same can be used to embed surveys as well. So we integrate with any web-hosted survey platform like SurveyMonkey, etc. So the last thing I want to show is our automation capabilities. We have different ways to automate flows and processes for the user. The first example I'll show you is a flow that has its navigational steps automated. So instead of the user having to click in order to get to a specific decision point, we can actually navigate those click steps until an intervention from the user is actually needed. So I search for this flow here, request a feedback, and I will click on it in order to launch it. But once I click on it, I'm not moving my mouse. So the steps are basically running for me. I don't need to click on anything. And I'll just wait until the flow would be paused, and we will get to the decision point where the user actually needs to do something. Like here, for example, this step is on a drop-down that the user needs to actually open and select. So for instance, I'll do this, click on the next, and again, we'll continue with the flow. I'll close that out for now. The next thing around automation, I'll go back to the homepage again, is the autofill capability. So again, mainly around form fields. If you have some fields that you want to, once the form loads, you want to have pre-filled with specific data, you can configure that as well. So instead of the user having to input something on his own. So just for an example, these two fields here, the citizenship status were auto-filled with our smart tips. So we have the smart tip here, as you see. Those were auto-filled once this form was loaded. So this can be configured as well.